What is up, family? We have another Patreon request. We have how the world's most remote mega project went wrong. Okay. I don't know why I'm thinking like nuclear power plant, something. That's what I'm thinking of. Japan, something like that. I don't know. With the tsunami, remember that mess?
In a remote
But this ain't Japan.
corner of France,
Ah, c'est la France. Ah, okay. Ça arrive dans la France.
In a remote corner of France, work is underway on one of the country's most impressive infrastructure projects. A road. But it's not just any old road. It contains France's longest bridge and most beautiful drives. But there's a problem. There's a bit missing. Quite a big bit, in fact, and it's been missing for a very long time. That's because getting to this point has been far from easy.
They stopped building a road, they just stopped?
When we say remote, we don't mean a distant part of Brittany or the coast of Corsica. No, in fact, once you get to the sun-kissed shores of the Mediterranean, keep going for a very, very, very long way here to the Indian Ocean, where nearly 9,000 kilometres from mainland France, you'll find the island of Réunion. Now, you might be thinking, how on earth do you build a mega project here? And it's a good question because it may be one of the most difficult places in the world to build a road like this. This is what happens when engineering is pushed to its absolute limits, and what it takes to build a mega build in one of the most isolated corners of our planet.
Here's a good point. Why would you do it? Why would you want to over here?
Okay, let's start with a quick politics lesson. According to Article 1 of the Constitution of the Fifth French Republic, France is a secular, social, and, importantly for us, an indivisible republic. Which means what exactly? Well, in other words, France is France, regardless of whether you're here, or even here. So, despite Réunion being closer to the South Pole than to Paris, it's an integral part of the EU and enjoys full representation in the French Parliament. So, why does that matter? Well, it doesn't really, except for prestige, because this means that La Nouvelle Route de Littoral, or New Coastal Road, isn't just one of the most impressive infrastructure projects being built in the Indian Ocean. It's also one of the biggest in France. Anyway, what's this all about? Well, as beautiful as Réunion is, the island is dominated by these vast volcanoes. Because of this impossible interior, most towns and cities are dotted around the island's edge. Like this one, Saint-Denis, the island's capital, or this one, Le Port, which contains the island's port. To get between the two, you've got to use this, the Route du Littoral, the old one, that is. Built in 1959, it tightly hugs the sheer cliffs as it passes above the shoreline. About 80,000 vehicles use this road every day, but there's a problem.
I was just going to say, it's awfully close to the water.
Violent winds, rain and waves battered the island.
We have to clear away anything with a large surface area.
That means gusts of up to 200 kilometers an hour.
As vital as this road is, driving it is like being caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. Cyclones in this part of the ocean are common, battering the road with waves and winds of up to 100 miles an hour.
Sounds like a great place to live. I never understood that. Like, what? Oh, it gets hit with hurricanes really often? Let's move. Let's go. That's where I want to live. It's so beautiful, though. Look at the views when there's no hurricane. Yeah, I know, but you know what I mean? Some people just like, oh, well, I don't care. I don't care. Oh, this part of Texas has like tornadoes, like 350 tornadoes every season? Well, let's go. Let's move. That's where we should build a home. Like, I don't know. People just don't care.
And it's not just the road that takes a beating. The elements cause constant erosion to the cliff face, sending rocks and boulders hurtling down onto the road and road users below.
Oh,
On the
that's
24th
nice.
of March 2006,
Holy crap. That's a nice landslide there.
An entire section of the cliff gave way, sending tons of rock onto the highway below and killing 2 people.
Il faudra probablement une semaine pour déblayer la roche tombée ce matin.
After this tragedy, work began on a better solution.
Dans l'Amérique, une semaine, my ass. Dans l'Amérique, peut-être 2 mois.
The first job was to study the maximum distance rocks could fall from the cliff and to establish a perimeter that any new road would have to lay beyond. From there, an ambitious solution was proposed. A new coastal road pushed safely offshore. The first part would sit on top of a dike up to 17 metres high and covered in armour to help it resist even a once-in-a-century storm.
I was just going to say, it better be awfully strong.
From there, it would dive into the cliff face and make the final entrance to Saint-Denis through a tunnel. But the plan quickly came off the rails. Early tests found that the rock was unsuitable for drilling, meaning that any tunnel, if it was even possible, would be extremely difficult and expensive. A few different options were looked at, and then in 2011, a final plan was put forward. You know what, road or no road, I actually really quite like the look of life in Réunion. Sorry, I don't normally do this, but I'm just wondering if I could maybe even build my dream house there. What would that even look like? Well, I can find out thanks to
I just finished. Oh, here we go.
my mates at Round Design. If no more juggling 5 different programs just to produce a
I know what you're doing there, buddy. Anyway, okay, never mind. I was going to say, you see, even this guy wants to live there. He doesn't care about the hurricanes.
Anyway, for now I'm going to let you guys get back to the video. Might just add a few more palm trees. The western section of the route would once again be built on a dike, but instead of disappearing underground, it would rise onto its defining feature, the Grande Chaloupe Viaduct. Stretching for 5.4 kilometres and up to 300 metres away from the shore, it would form the centrepiece of the 12.5 kilometre route, and once complete, would become the longest bridge in France. Okay, sounds great. Just one thing, let's take another look at Réunion. As if building one of France's largest infrastructure projects wasn't enough, how do you also do that when the nearest continental landmass is over 1,600 kilometres away? Well, you've got to be pretty self-sufficient.
Oh, yeah, you got to get the materials over there. We don't even think of that. Yeah, good point.
Let's take a look at that bridge.
Wow, what a pain in the ass
2
that
new
must
concrete
be.
factories were created on the island to cast the enormous components for the structure. The bridge is a box girder design, meaning the spans are created by joining together a series of precast hollow structures. Inside these boxes are pre-stressed steel cables which squeeze the different sections together. All of that sits on 48 piers, each carefully designed to minimise resistance to the tide and swells of water. The piers were cast here near the western tip of the road.
Wow.
Each structure is made of 2 blocks. The base, 15 metres tall, weighing 4,500 tonnes and featuring a 23 metre wide foundation. On top of that, the pier head measuring between 9 and 21 metres. To transport these concrete giants to the worksite, a special piece of equipment was needed. Say hello to Zurite. While everything else for this project was sourced as close as possible, this was the exception.
This is where man impresses me. This is where man and engineering impresses me. Seriously. It's just, when we put our minds together, it is pretty astonishing what we can do.
Constructed in Poland, this specially designed barge is the size of a football pitch and contains a concrete mixing facility and gantry capable of lifting the enormous pier sections. One at a time, foundations are sailed out. Once in position, Zurite, Creole for octopus, plants 8 steel legs into the seabed to provide stability. The foundations are then precisely lowered into place. Once on the sea floor, jacks raise the structure up 40 centimetres, allowing concrete to be injected into sacks beneath the base plate. It took 4 years to install all 48 piers. Once in place, a beam launcher was used to install the box girders. Standing on a pier, it picks up deck pieces and installs them either side on a pier to...
I never knew you could just pour concrete underwater. I didn't even know that was possible. How does it ever dry? Huh?
at a time to maintain balance. It takes a month to complete 2 spans, after which the launcher relocates to the next pier and repeats the process. In 2017, after 4 years of work, the Guadeloupe viaduct was complete. But although the bridge might have been the most technically complex part of the road, that isn't what brought the project to a halt. That came about with the dike. These structures were intricately designed to exhaust the power of the sea instead of trying to resist it. Initially, they're created by building up an embankment from the seabed. From there, they're protected by a sophisticated system of armour. The principle is simple. The outer layer is formed of huge cast concrete boulders known as acropods. They take the full force of ocean swells. From there, water is forced through layers of smaller and smaller rocks, creating an increasingly dense maze which zaps the energy from the wave. It's effective, but there's just one thing. It needs a lot of rock. To solve that problem, the project owners proposed opening 2 new quarries, here at Bois Blanc and here at Saint-Lô. These 2 sites would be more than enough to supply the estimated 7 million cubic metres of rock needed to complete the dike. But that's when they ran into trouble. Public backlash against the quarries was intense.
It's what bothers Antonio Cadet and a community group called Don't Touch Our Rocks.
There's always a group. There's always a group.
They agree the road is necessary, but they're opposed to one of the quarry sites.
Local residents and environmental groups opposed the plans, claiming blasting and heavy truck traffic would disrupt daily life, generate dust and noise, and threaten sensitive ecosystems close to homes and habitats.
With the wind you see here, we're going to have dust everywhere around, and all the people are going to be concerned, especially the children and old people and people with already a disease.
Now, before you roll your eyes, it's important not to underestimate the environmental concerns of this project. Réunion isn't an idyllic island paradise for nothing. The waters around Réunion are home to impeccable coral reefs, whale migration routes, and dolphin feeding grounds. Part of the reason
Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's the beauty of being on an island.
the bridge was chosen for this stretch of the routes was to minimise the impact on nature, and those concerns over the island's ecology don't stop at the water's edge. The impacts of opening a quarry here would be devastating. And sure enough, in 2018, on the ground that it would destroy the habitats of several protected species, a court ruled against any new quarries. It was a devastating blow, but it's not the end of the story. Those giant volcanoes aren't good for nothing. They're also responsible for spraying the island with rocks. So much, in fact, that for years it's been a problem for farmers whose land is littered with basaltic boulders. So, an ingenious solution was found.
Chaque jour, 1000 tonnes d'andins sortent du champ de Jean-Louis Munyama pour alimenter le chantier de la NRL.
Farmers across the island
No one thought of that before? Nobody thought of that? Like, damn, we got 2 active volcanoes here.
were encouraged to roll boulders off their land to the roadside, where they were picked up and transported to the construction site.
Pour moi, ça me permet de plus tard d'améliorer le terrain, plus travailler un peu mécaniquement. Faire un peu de la canne mécanique, planter d'autres choses, ananas. Avant, je ne pouvais pas planter d'ananas, je ne pouvais pas planter des trucs, des petites cultures. Mais maintenant, à faire à mesure, je vais essayer un peu de tout.
Win-win. Farmers cleared their fields,
Win-win.
and millions of tons of rock was collected for the road. But as elegant as the solution was, it still couldn't provide all the rubble needed for the road's armour, and there was worse to come. In a review, it was discovered that the quantity of rock needed had been massively underestimated.
Jesus. 7 million wasn't enough?
Rather than 7 million cubic metres, 12 million were needed to finish the dike. And with that, in 2019, the project ground to a halt. The team looked into sourcing rock from South Africa, but the cost of shipping it over 2,000 kilometres to Réunion was astronomical. As well as France's longest bridge, the project had also picked up another, less welcome record. With just 8 out of 12.4 kilometres constructed, the cost had skyrocketed to over $2 billion.
That's insane. The cost of everything is just out of control. That's the problem. It's just insane.
Making it one of the most expensive roads in the world.
Oh my God.
That price tag is bitterly ironic because
Wow.
back in the planning stage, the idea of a bridge spanning the entire length of the route was ruled out because it would be too expensive. To make matters worse, in 2021 it was discovered nearly 800 aquapods were incorrectly installed. A further 2,500 had to be removed to reposition the faulty blocks at a cost of €20 million.
Oh my God.
In 2022, the Reunion Council decided to bite the bullet and approved completing the road as a viaduct, potentially adding another €700 million to the final bill. But even that came with complications.
Holy mackerel.
Zurich, the specialist barge, had been sailed back to Europe in 2020 after the bridge was complete. Preliminary work on the final stretch began at the end of 2025, and construction on the viaduct is due to begin in 2027, with a completion date now set for 2030. In the meantime, the existing parts of the new road
I wonder what the final cost is going to be at the end of 2030.
are now in use, albeit with a detour back onto the old road for the missing
God.
stretch. Despite the shortcomings of the new coastal road, this island's engineering prowess is not to be underestimated.
Oh no, it's brilliant what they did.
For decades, this remote corner of France has been building extraordinary feats of engineering in an environment far more hostile than anywhere in Europe. Projects like the Three Basins Viaducts have shown that this extraordinary island can create infrastructure that's not just practical, but also beautiful. But out here, when things go wrong, there's nowhere to turn to. Attempting a mega build in such a remote location is not just about having engineering expertise, you've also got to have that drive to succeed against all the odds. The story of the new coastal road doesn't detract from Reunion's record. It merely shows how extraordinary it is in the first place. This video was sponsored by Rayon Design. Don't forget that you can try Rayon Design for free using the link below. And as always guys, if you enjoyed this video and you want to get more from the definitive video channel for construction, make sure you're subscribed to the B1M.
Very cool. Cool video. Crazy. I do like these kind of videos where they show, massive things being constructed, huge machinery. I don't know. I just like that kind of stuff. And again, like I said, as we all know, man is the king of destroying things. We're so good at that. But sometimes you take a look and you're like, wow. When you put your minds together, you put a team together and you start thinking of a project and you make it come true, it really is unbelievable that how far we can advance. The human race, again, is really an incredible race. We could do so good and so bad in the same day. And it's nice to see things like this because this is good. This shows what we can do. And it's impressive. There's no doubt about it. It is impressive. And we'll see. Maybe it'll be like $4 billion by the end of 2030. Crazy. Just crazy. I hope it was worth it. I hope it brings some sort of income, or I don't know. You get, usually there's always that in mind, we'll get the money back sooner or later, slowly, with tolls or this or that. There's not going to be, I don't know if there's going to be a toll to go on that road, but I don't know. Usually there's always a plan on how we're getting our money back. You know what I mean? No one just says, hey, here's a $2 billion road. Enjoy. It's all yours. Free of charge. No. Nobody does anything for free. So I don't know how they're going to make their money back, but very cool. Very cool. I still don't understand why people are like, I do understand an island where you're like, let me visit, when it's not like hurricane season. But the people that go, oh no, I want to live there full time, year round. Yeah, you're going to get nailed with something. There's no doubt about it. And people got guts. Hey, you know what? No guts, no glory. Maybe you get lucky and you're able to live on paradise, because that's what that is. That's paradise. You saw those waters. You saw those reefs. So you want to live in paradise. Sometimes you just got to take a chance. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you don't. Take care. Peace out. Have a good night.
Je préférerais en péter